Okay, let us try to understand the classification of carbon atoms. One of the most important property of the carbon is its tetravalency. Carbon is a strict octet follower, which means it needs a maximum of 8 electrons to form the stable compounds. Since a carbon atom has 4 electrons, it can form up to 4 bonds with the different elements. Part of the reason why there are millions of compounds of carbon is its possibility of forming very stable bonds with the another carbon atom. Now, a carbon atom in an organic compound is labeled or classified based on the number of bonds and the types of atoms it is attached to. In this in this video, we will specially focus on the classification of carbon based on the number of other carbon atoms attached to it. Carbon can be classified as a primary, secondary, or tertiary, or sometimes quaternary depending on the number of carbon atoms it is bonded to. This classification only applies to the saturated carbons. The classification are as follows. Number 1, primary carbon atom. Now the primary carbon atoms are those atoms which are attached to only one carbon atom. For example, if you look at this example, 2,2-dimethyl 4-methyl pentane, here you can see this carbon over here is just attached to only one carbon atom. Therefore, it is called as a primary carbon atom. Similarly, this carbon over here, this is primary carbon atom. This is also primary carbon atom since it is attached to only one carbon atom. This carbon atom is also primary carbon atom. Okay, now let us try to understand what is secondary carbon atom. Secondary carbon atom is nothing but it is the carbon which is attached to two carbon atoms. For example, the carbon over here is nothing but a secondary carbon atom since it is attached to two other carbon atoms. And similarly, the tertiary carbon atom is nothing but the carbon atom which is attached to three other carbon atoms. Therefore, this carbon over here, since it is attached to three other carbon atoms, we can say this is nothing but a tertiary carbon atom. And the quaternary carbon atom is nothing but the carbon which is attached to four different carbon atoms. Since this carbon over here, it is attached to four different carbon atoms, we can say that this carbon is nothing but a quaternary carbon atom. Now, on the basis of the position of the functional group, carbon atoms are again classified as alpha carbon and the beta carbon. For example, if I am writing the structure of acetaldehyde over here, the functional group is nothing but an aldehyde. This is nothing but a functional group. This is nothing but a functional group. Now, with respect to this functional group, this is nothing but the alpha position. Therefore, this carbon is known as alpha carbon. If I take another aldehyde which is looking something like this, in that case I must say this is alpha position with respect to functional group, and this is nothing but the beta position with respect to functional group. That makes this carbon alpha carbon and this carbon as a beta carbon. Now let us try to understand the classification of hydrogen atoms. Now if you look carefully, the hydrogen atoms which are attached to primary carbon are known as the primary hydrogen atoms. The hydrogens which are attached to secondary carbon atom are known as the secondary hydrogens, and the hydrogens which are attached to tertiary carbon are known as the tertiary hydrogens. Quaternary hydrogens is not possible since the quaternary carbon is something which is attached to four different carbon atoms, so it cannot have hydrogen. Therefore, quaternary hydrogen is not possible. Quaternary hydrogen